Guys, we got a special treat, right? Because it's almost the year anniversary of the show, the Yankees Morning Brew, probably like a month and a half away. But when I first started this channel, when I first started this show, I should say, the Yankees Morning Brew over on KOD Media, I had one guy who hit me up at the beginning. Only had one friend that wanted me to have on their show to talk Yankees, and that's my guy James of Section 420. And without further ado, let me bring my guy James up. James, what it do? Good morning, handsome.
Morning. I was gonna wear my Santa hat. I was like, I don't want to block my beautiful face. So I just put, cause we got a little snow here. But yeah, it's good to see you. And yeah, it's crazy. It's been a year. It
Yeah,
flew by.
almost. Yeah, you should have wore that Santa hat. It would have been perfectly with the snow that's out my window. Is it snowing by you also?
Yeah, just started to get a little flakes now. I'm just looking. I'm seeing it right now, but it's not sticking to the ground. So it's not the
Yeah,
nor'easter that we all thought we were gonna get. So yeah, we'll,
of
we'll
course.
live.
Yeah, of course. We'll survive. We'll survive. Alan Landsman is in the building. Alan, good morning. Hope all is well. And like I said, Anthony Medina, good morning. Good morning. But James, for the people in the chat that aren't familiar with you, just give them a little spill so far where they could find you, where they could find your stuff, and where they could follow you at, James.
Oh yeah, it's been growing. I've been doing this for like about 7 years now. So so obviously on YouTube, just hit Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Boom, you see my videos there. I just did an episode last night, which launched this morning, like an hour ago. So get a fresh episode. Follow me on both Twitter. It's Section 420 TY. Can't fit the whole Talkin Yankees in there. So Section 420 TY on Twitter, Instagram, the full thing. Section 420 Talkin Yankees, a podcast. I did that. Now, if you have to be a Bronx resident, if you live, in the Bronx, if you get Optimum and you have BronxNet, I think it's channel 68. You can catch me every Tuesday at 7:00. So it's like, TV, real TV. I think it was Fios. It's 3124 if you're a Fios person. If you're out in Long Island there, I think it's a public access channel 20 Optimum. Catch me every Thursday morning at 10:00. And then last but not least, BRIC TV in Brooklyn. To be honest with you, it's like it only pops up once a month. Like Brooklyn's crazy. Like their cable channels like 3,526,
Yeah.
like spectrums like that. So I don't know. Flip around BRIC TV. Go put in Section 420 Talking Yankees. I pop up like every second Saturday. It's like 12:30, then 2:30 in the afternoon, then 8:30. So kind of all the place. And just recently, just like the longest plug ever. Last season I started an audio podcast. So wherever you get your podcast, with Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, Section 420 Talking Yankees. So I have an audio version of the podcast where I do stuff that's not on TV or on YouTube, just little inserts, like little 4-minute episodes, 3-minute episodes, 5-minute thing. Could be anything. Could be common stuff, Yankee history. So I think you just Google Section 420 Talking Yankees. All this crap will come up, and you just click those links. There you go.
Well, James, you're killing it right now. And shout out to BRIC Media. I have a friend that actually works for BRIC Media. His name is John. He is a Knick content creator. He's one of the co-founders of Still Knick Fans, Ron and John. So he's one of the guys that work over there at BRIC Media. And it's 6 degrees of separation. It's like almost everybody knows each other through just one person. I see we got a few people in the chat. Li Yankee King, Section 420. What's good? What's up, bro? That's my guy, Li. I love Li Yankee King.
Yeah, comments on some videos, and we go back and forth a little bit once in a while. Yeah, he seems like a cool dude, so yeah.
Yeah, very, very, very knowledgeable when it comes to trades and very active on the Yankees trade, and when it comes to Yankee trades. But James, I want to ask you right off the jump, right? Because it is spring training right now. Has anything stuck out or caught your eye so far this early in spring training?
I would say 2 things. Number one, I would say Garrett Cole. It's only been a handful of starts, but he just looks like really calm and collective. Maybe because he like cut his hair in the back, like he cropped his hair a little bit. Yeah. So this looks like very like, not saying he was messing around the past couple of seasons, but just looks very just confident, calm, very collective. And I had a guest on my show yesterday, and she made a good point that this is like his first kind of real spring training. Remember when we first got him in 2020? Well, that was the COVID kind of bubbles. Yeah. It was a weird, bizarro world. 2021, okay, technically we were back, but we're still living that bit of a COVID hangover. And then last season, of course, we had the player lockdown, so spring training started a little late. So he really had a full, normal Yankee spring training. So you put that plus the fact that now he's had a couple of seasons under his belt. He knows what it is when the fans are happy, when they're not happy, and all that stuff. And I think he's going to have a really good bounce back season. I mean, not that he was garbage last season, but he just wasn't himself. I mean, he gave up a lot of home runs. He had a lot of games where he just got wrecked in the first and second inning. Like, we didn't see that from Cole the first 2 seasons. So that sticks out to me. And the second thing is, of course, been the young guns. This way, Anthony Volpe, this looks like he belongs here, Yeah. I don't think he's going to, maybe we'll talk about it later in the episode, but I don't think they're going to call him up, have him in April. But just the way the young guys are really stealing the show. Oswaldo Cabrera looks good. Jason Dominguez is hitting home runs left and right. So I would say the young guys and Cole probably what's sticking out to me so far.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'll throw it over to Todd real quick. But before I do that, I want to shout out my man NYY News. Ruben is in the building. Ruben, what it do? What it do? He said, what is good, TC Stills? But TC's, to his point that he just mentioned about Garrett Cole, and it's a good point because one thing that stood out to me about Garrett Cole and the handful of starts that James said is that he's not scared to throw his fastball. He's relying more on his fastball than he has in years past with the Yankees. Last year at the beginning of the season, he was working on a cutter that seemed like it messed up his fastball rotation. So far early in spring training, it looks like that fastball is back. What's your thoughts on that, Todd?
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, he looks fantastic. And yeah, he has to have that confidence in the fastball because, last year he didn't because he was guessing and like, he was more afraid of hitters than they were afraid of him. And that's not Cole. And it's good to see he's got that confidence back. He's going to have a bounce back season, like James just said, but with Carlos Rodon on the rotation, I know he's down, but we need Cole more than ever this year now, especially to start the season.
Yeah, no, can't disagree with that whatsoever. Adam Landsman said, "R.I.P. Joe Pepitone." Yes, rest in peace, Joe Pepitone. Yankees, they put out a statement yesterday. He was, part of the Yankees family. Was known for his charismatic way he carried himself, very playful, very joking attitude. So rest in peace, Joe Pepitone. He was a member of the Yankees, lifelong Yankee, and wish just nothing but best for his family.
Yeah, he was known for he was the first to bring a hairdryer to the locker room.
I think even late in his life, he always had that great hair.
Yeah,
but also, I want to piggyback on something you said, Hector, with Cole in the grip. Remember last season, like when they say Cole's spin rate was like the worst ever, and that's probably what it was. Because they all thought, because he didn't have the substance on the ball anymore, but really because maybe he was trying out the cut with the slider, like you said, too much, and that's why he just wasn't getting that same spin rate. So it's a good point.
Yeah, and also too, when you look at it, majority of the home runs that players hit off him last year was because they were sitting on an off-speed pitch. Knowing that Garrett Cole was like kind of scared to throw his fastball in certain counts. When that's the case, you could just sit back on an 80-mile-per-hour changeup or an 85-mile-per-hour curveball or an 80-mile-per-hour slider and just go to town with it. And that's what hitters were doing last year. But it seems like he has the confidence back in his fastball. He was striking people out left and right. I think in his first start, in spring training, he struck out 5 batters. 3 of them were looking. So a lot of the guys were looking for an off-speed pitch, but got that fastball. So hopefully this is a good sign to come when it comes to Garrett Cole going forward. But before we kick it off any further, the Yankees done had injuries. And I want to bring this up real quick, right? Because the injuries, they had hit the Yankees and they keep piling up at the halfway mark of spring training. You got Rodon, you got Bader, Anthony Rizzo is dealing with a back injury right now. Of course, Lou Trevino, Tommy Kahnle, and Frankie Montas. I'll throw it over to you, James. What do you make of these injuries on the early part of spring training?
Well, the Montas thing was, an absolute car wreck. I mean, from last season when now he's admitting, oh, yeah, I was hurt. And then how the Yankees, when they give this guy a physical, they didn't catch that. Bad on the Yankees and bad on Montas for not speaking up about it. So last season was a wash. And then you have the entire winter and off season to maybe figure out, is there something wrong with me? No one does anything. And then he shows up at spring training, oh, my shoulder hurts. And then now I need surgery. So bad move by this is bad by Cashman and bad by Montas, both of them. As for the other injuries, the only one that really concerns me, I would say, was the oblique with Bader, because that's just something, with your swing and everything, you need your chest muscles and all that jazz. And those obliques like almost never heal. We remember with Judge like 2 or 3 seasons ago, the way many fans were hesitant of giving Judge a long-term contract, because he had that oblique. I think it was either 2020, 21, and it stood with him the whole season. So if that's going to be nagging with Beta, that's a big blow, because I was expecting good things out of Beta. The Rendon one doesn't bother me much. That's just probably more precautionary. It's like a little forearm soreness. I think just being very cautious. That one doesn't worry me that much. But the only one that I say of all of them would be the Beta one, that oblique, because I was looking forward for him to be the center fielder for us, a leadoff hitter. I mean, he was probably the most exciting player the Yankees had during the postseason. Everyone else kind of like stiffs, pretty much. Yeah. And plus now with these new base stealing rules, that makes it more favorable for runners. Beta, I don't think say it was going to be Ricky Henderson, but I think he would, him leading off, I think he'll be able to swipe a lot of bags for us. But, if he's not going to be in there, or is this going to be not in full, like 80% of himself? Yeah, it's a really big blow for the season.
Yeah, definitely. I want to give a quick shout out real quick. Tyler Tabbitt is in the building. My guy Tyler. Ocean Views Coffee Crew is in the building. My guy Bradley Jewish just showed up. Bradley, hope all is well. But yeah, bro, I when it comes to these injuries, especially EY Eric Wallace. Eric Wallace, good morning. When it comes to the injuries, especially the oblique is a tricky one because when it comes to your oblique, for people that don't know what an oblique is, just look at it like this. The oblique, it's literally the layer that goes around your abdominal and your midsection area before it gets to your skin, before you get to those 3 layers of skin. So it adds like an extra shield. If that's messed up, it takes a long time for the oblique to heal because as it's healing, it's tearing because you're moving around, right? So unless you're going to be stuck in like an iron lung like they used to have back in the 50s and 40s, it's going to be hard for you to heal when it comes to your oblique. So hopefully when it comes to Harrison Bader, he just rests. He doesn't do anything crazy. I dealt with an oblique issue myself, and it literally had me like 4 to 5 months for me to fully heal when it comes to that oblique, right? And I'm not as athletic as Harrison Bader is, but I'll throw it over to you, Todd. What do you make of these injuries so far?
Well, unfortunately for Yankee fans, we're used to it. We're getting accustomed to all these guys going down, whether it be spring training or midseason or like last year at the end when postseason we needed all these guys. So with Bader's disappointing because I think Boone said he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks, so it's going to be a while before we see him. Some of the pitchers, Montas, we knew, that was a wash. I mean, that was, I think one of the worst trades Cashman's ever made. Rodon is a little scary, but I think his UCL is still intact, so he looks like he's going to avoid Tommy John. Rizzo, the back's been hurting him, a couple seasons now. I think he should be okay. Lou Trevino, Efros, some of those bullpen guys, Canley. I think we can make do with what we have. We have some guys that can step up. We got Weissert. We got even Devi Garcia can come up. Some of the young kids can make a name for himself. I was going to bring up a name, Tyler Tully. He looked pretty impressive and actually we need a left-hander. So he looked pretty good. Maybe he sticks around. So, it's promising. We're disappointed, but we got to be positive going into the season. We can't just say it's over. So
there's a few guys in spring training when it comes to Cook, when it comes to Cordero, when it comes to Devi Garcia. You got a lot of guys that are opening eyes in spring training and actually looking good. You got some minor league players that are actually looking good. My friend Andres Chaparro, who I've interviewed a couple of times, he looks really good, and hopefully the Yankees find a way to get him on the roster. I definitely won't be to start the season, but somewhere in the middle of the season, hopefully we get to see some of the young kids. I'll throw it over to you, James, to start off the next question because you brought him up, right? You brought up Anthony Volpe. So let's have the conversation about Anthony Volpe. What has surprised you the most about Volpe and his play so far in spring training?
I was saying, I meant the bat's been good, of course. He's been around 300 more or less. But I just think his defense, like young guys, like making like smart plays. Like there was one where like he was in the shortstop hole. Now he could have gone like for an easy play at first base, but he actually turned and gunned someone down, running to third there. Like that was a veteran move. So I just think he just looks like a competent veteran. His defense has been more impressive. I mean, the hitting's not fine. Okay, he had that one home run. He's been putting, making good contact, but just he just looks alive and he looks just energetic, and you just see where the other players are gravitating towards him. And not saying, obviously not pulling this one out too early, but you just see like the way like Judge shows him respect, like Judge is the captain and he's like showing this guy respect, and you hear some of the Jeter comparisons, stuff like that. So this is, he has something about him, an aura about it. Now, maybe take someone like a Clint Frazier from 2 seasons ago, like, all right, this is a good hitting prospect, but he didn't really have an aura around him. Volpe has a bit of an aura around him. So I think this finally might be someone special.
Yeah, no, definitely. Go ahead, TC.
Yeah, no, he's impressed from day one. I've been saying this all the whole time, and those stats, speak for themselves. I mean, this kid, he has a high IQ, like James was saying. Making a play like that, throwing a third. You don't see that every day. There's some guys, like I don't want to mention, Glaber, but some of his plays are, not at the top of the IQ chart there. So, Volpe's been impressive, and I'd love to see him break. I'd love to see him break camp with the Yankees. I know it's a long shot, But if they can move some of these guys, either IKF or Glaber, or somehow get Donaldson off this roster, we got to have him. He's exciting. And, now with Bader gone, he gives that excitement, that speed at the top of the lineup. We need the young kids to start playing. Let's stop already, Cashman. Let's just play the guys.
100%, 100%. Do not disagree whatsoever. When it comes to Volpe, like James said, we all knew that Volpe, his offense was going to be able to play. Like the one thing about Anthony Volpe that we heard about him being a prospect is that his bat actually is going to play at the major league level. But the one thing that has surprised me, like James' point, is his defense, being able to play second base, being able to play third base, being able to play shortstop, not scared of being in the field. And you see that baseball IQ that people talked about when it comes to Anthony Volpe. You see why he's ranked so high by Baseball America in 100 top prospects. You see why he is the #1 ranked shortstop prospect in all of Major League Baseball, because it's not just his bat, it's not just his glove, it's what in the middle of his head right here. That brain, that IQ, it's a far beyond than what you could expect from a 23 or 24-year-old rookie that's going to be in the major leagues. And Lou Piniella said it. If you guys didn't hear the quote from Lou Piniella, he said, this kid, Anthony Volpe, he gets it. He knows what it is to be a Yankee. The praises that he is getting by Willie Randolph is in love with Anthony Volpe. He said that this kid reminds him of Derek Jeter so much, the way he carries himself. When he met Lou Piniella for the first time, this kid, and a lot of people may say, oh, well, it's just how he was raised, or they don't care about it, but took his hat off, had his hand over his heart when he was meeting Lou Piniella. That goes to show you he respects the Yankees tradition. He respects the history that comes along with this team. And when it comes down to it, he is going to be special at the major league level. Now, it's all going to determine where is he going to play. Is he going to be a shortstop? Is he going to be a second base? Or is he going to be a third baseman? For me, I think the best fit for him will be at third base, right? It makes it a lot easier for him instead of having to dive into the hole to the right. If he dives to the left, easy transition to throw it to first base. You don't got to worry about that arm. It's just like Alex Bregman with the Houston Astros. Yep. Bregman came up as a shortstop. And the questions with Bregman is, does he have the cannon to make that long throw from shortstop? Moved him to third base. He won a Gold Glove at third base. So I think with Anthony Volpe, we could kind of almost see the same thing. What's your thoughts on that, James?
Yeah, no, I think defensively he could handle it. I would just say one thing, but with him and even Jason Dominguez with his bat, I'll just be a little wary of offense, a little at the offensive side in spring training, because like last offseason we saw Higgy hit 6 home runs in spring training. So, and like what did he do during the regular season? Probably only had 6 total. So I want to go. So when you evaluate the plays, I say yes, look at defensively. Yeah, I mean, I like his versatility. I just think, unfortunately with Donaldson, the Yankees are still on the hook for the season. I think he's making a little under $25 million, so they just can't cut the guy. Same thing with IKF. You have him under contract for arbitration for $6 million, so you can't just throw away that money. So, I'm at third base with fine shortstop, but it's just like we have this plethora of too many infielders. We got Peraza as well floating around. Oswaldo Cabrera could play multiple positions as well. Yeah, and of course we have Gleyber there. So. Again, I think, ideally, I think in the future the Yankees might like, Peraza and Volpe up the middle there and find a way to move Gleyber, or just say goodbye to Gleyber after this season. But either way, I think at some point next season he'll be in one of the infield spots. Not sure where, but again, possibly third. As well.
Yeah. Todd, I want to ask you, and I'm going to bring it back around to James after I ask you this. But when it comes to the players that he mentioned, IKF, Josh Donaldson, Gleyber Torres, if you had to put a bet down, if you were at the casino and you had put money on the table, who are you putting the money on that the Yankees are going to trade first? Torres, IKF, Josh Donaldson, or neither of them? What are you thinking?
I think their best bet is IKF. Yeah, he could be traded. I know there's multiple teams that need shortstop help. It's going to be hard to trade a Donaldson or a Hicks or someone like that. Gleyber has a lot of trade value, but I don't think they're gonna move him. I don't think so. I think they much rather move on from IKF, and that leaves a spot open for Volpe. But I don't know. We talked about it on another show. I don't know if I want Volpe coming up if he's just gonna sit on the bench. I want him, getting some at bats. So if that's what they're gonna do, then it's useless to bring him up. So if you're gonna have him on the team, he's got to start. He's got to be a starter. So I would say IKF would probably be the best bet to be gone.
Definitely. I want to do just a few shout outs real quick before I throw it back to James. Shout out to Uncle Tats and the Pinstripe Chronicles is in the building. He says, agree, IKF is the easier move, but Cashman's ego won't let it go. And that's the thing that we got to worry about when it comes down to Brian Cashman egos. And if that big head of his is going to allow him to make a certain trade, knowing that he had egg on his face from the original trade that he made. Hold on one second. I got Michael Caputis is in the building. Capoots, how are you doing? He said, I'm giving their prospects a chance, but it's going to be a last time. I'm going to be faithful for the farm system again. If the prospects all turn out to be bust, then I'm never going to rely on them. Don't worry about that, Michael Caputo. James, same question going your way. When it comes down to those three players that you named, if you had to put money down, who are you putting money down for the Yankees to trade?
I would say probably, again, money-wise, the easiest to move would be IKF, just making $6 million. This is last year in the contract, and you could package him with someone else. So in the pecking order, I would say IKF. Glaber, he's only making $9-point-something million this season. And for second baseman, look, he's not what we thought he could be, but he's still decent. He'll hit around 250, 260, but he hits around 20 home runs. So I think that'll be appetizing for a lot of teams. So I can see him maybe second the pecking order. Donaldson, I think that's going to be a situation where maybe by midseason, if he's really terrible, they just might just eat the money like they did with A-Rods last season. Say, hey, look, take the 15, 20 million we're giving you and just buy a house or something. Because, you know, at a certain point, you can't have him the whole season if he's just going to be what he was last year, like a 220 hitter. And even if he gives you 10, 12 home runs, this is not worth it. Now, defensively, he's still fine. That's not his problem. But he's got to give you something offensively. And this last season was bust. So I'm willing to give him a shot. But I think I could see it definitely season by midway. If he's just not up to par, they just might designate him for assignment and say, goodbye, good luck.
Yeah. During the middle of the season, I think the deadline when it comes to if you release a player and you could use it like as a tax write-off, I think it's in the middle of July or the end of July, right after the trade deadline or right before the trade deadline. So if the Yankees come down to it, if we get to that point and Josh Donaldson, to James' point, he's not living up to what that contract is, the Yankees can cut him just like they did A-Rod for the rest of the season, use the rest of that money as insurance money to write it off for the taxes. Yes, Josh Donaldson would get paid, but the Yankees won't take a hit when it comes to the luxury tax, right? They could just use the insurance money just to write it off. But it's going to be interesting to see Brian Cashman. He's going to have to get really creative with this roster, especially, with Aaron Boone. But we all know it's just an extension from Cashman. So they're going to have to get creative, right? Trying to figure out who's going to make the team, who's not going to make a team. Estevan Florial, he only has one option left. I doubt that he even makes his team just from his performance in spring training. I'm sorry, L.I. Yankee King. I know that's your favorite Yankee to talk about, Estevan Florial, but I honestly do not see him making a roster. There's a slight possibility of him making a roster only because Harrison Bader is going to start the season on the IL. So that's the only thing that you can hope for. But talking about the outfield, let's shift gears just a little bit because Jason Dominguez, as well as Anthony Volpe, has been opening eyes in spring training. And I know what you said, James, about, last year, Kyle Higashioka, the home runs he hit. But when you look at the home runs that Jason Dominguez hit, all four of them were not cheap shots. They were all moon shots. They were on blast. Kyle Higashioka, if you look back on them, majority of those home runs, they got caught in the jet streams, the breeze in spring training. If you want to say the breeze in sunny Florida and Tampa helped them out. But when it comes to Jason Dominguez, those home runs, those aren't cheap shots. I'll throw it over to you, James, to get your thoughts on the Martians so far in spring training.
No, I agree with you there. Like, just I understand, like, he's like sometimes you have a player like Higgy who again lucking into someone, and then you have a good player being good. So yeah, I agree with you that Jason Dominguez home runs, it's like a good player being good. Not only good, clutch. Remember that one? It was an eighth inning comeback home run against the Braves. I mean, that's a clutch home run. So very impressive with them overall. I just think, even before the season, the spring training even started, Cashman came out and said, "Hey, yes, we're going to invite him to the major league camp, but he's not making the roster." So like Cashman threw water on it right away. And then just Boone a couple of days ago was asked the same thing. Like, yes, even though we have the need with Bader down for a few weeks, and he's an out center fielder, so kind of would make sense to get him out there a little bit. But even Boone and both Cashman put water on the whole thing that, no, that's not going to happen. So as much as we like to see it, he's not going to be there in April, unfortunately, for center field. And you'll probably maybe see either Hicks there, shockingly, in center field, or even maybe Judge, who played center field last season for the Yankees and, hit 62 home runs. He seemed happy with it. I don't love the idea of him in center field, but, I think of the two, you might actually see Hicks there opening day in center field, as crazy as it sounds.
Yeah. I'm right there with you, because when it comes to Brian Cashman, we understand Brian Cashman. Hold on, I got Ruben who said it. Ruben says his worries about, hold on, let me just remove this. He says, my worries about Dominguez is his defense, and he hasn't dominated Double A yet, or Triple A, if I want to throw that in there for Ruben. But yeah, when it comes to Brian Cashman, he wants players to dominate a certain level before he moves them up, right? So even though Jason Dominguez, he had a handful of games at the Double A level, he showed out in the playoffs, right? I'm not sure if it was enough for him to start the season in Triple A this year. Maybe this spring training has him starting the season at Triple A instead of Double A. I'm not too sure, but Tato, and throw it over to you. What's your thoughts about Dominguez so far?
Oh, Dominguez has been terrific. You guys make good points about, his stats. His stats are great, but I this is the Yankees, and they don't play the kids. They let them sit in in spring in the minors. So, but with him, he's making a case to actually make this team. I know he's young, his defense isn't as up to par yet, but give him a month or two in AAA, and he's going to be knocking on that door. He's going to be itching to come to make that team, and they're going to have no choice but to bring him up. I mean, yeah, we have some outfield positions available. It just opens the door for Calhoun and Ortega, I think now. So get some veterans in there to start the season, but come May, June, I think he's going to be ready to play.
Yeah, I
Hold
agree.
on one second. Go ahead, James. Go ahead.
I was saying, yeah, like I think to start the season, it's going to be the veterans, the guys who are getting the money. But once you get towards the middle, the end of the season, like it's all hands on deck. We got to win a championship, and I think then Cashman would bend if, let's just say, Dominguez is tearing it up, or even Volpe's tearing it up. It's like, hey, if they're tearing it up, and these guys we got right now are just, like if Gleybar's hitting 220 or something, like, hey, we got to do something because we got to win a championship.
Yeah.
So I think that conversation will happen towards the middle end of the year, but not to start the season.
Right.
Yeah. And to the point of the Yankees, they don't play their kids. Yeah, that's something when you look on like the past 5 years, you could point to that and say that's actually true. But at the same time, when you look at the prospects that we had, Clint Frazier, right? And Duhar did what he did his rookie year. Copy, I understand that. Estevan Floria. When you look at those prospects that we had, none of those prospects that we had ever had spring trainings like Volpe and like Dominguez has had, right? Clint Frazier never tore it up in spring training, right? Who else I just met? None of them. They never tore it up in spring training. But to Ruben's point, he says Soto and Single A and Double A hit like 360 plus with power, while Dominguez has hit below 300. He still needs some times. I agree when it comes to that, right? But the one thing that I'm going to say, last year, I think Dominguez at both levels, he had a combined, I think, 276 or 273. The difference between Dominguez and Soto, right? And I'm not comparing them. I don't want anybody to think I'm comparing Jason Dominguez to Soto, because I think there's just too much pressure to put on Jason Dominguez at such a young age. But the difference of the two of them is that Juan Soto never had his 18-year season when he was 18 years old in the minor leagues taken away from him from COVID like Jason Dominguez was. You got to remember, when the Yankees signed Jason Dominguez, that first year he had no development because the minor league baseball was shut down because of COVID, right? If we're going to say, if we're going to point to a difference between the two of those, you have to include that, right? Juan Soto, he never had any time pause when it comes to his development at the minor league level. Jason Dominguez literally lost his first full year of development at 18 years old in the minor leagues. Had to come back when he was 19. He put a little bit of weight on when it comes to muscles. He lost that weight. It kind of seems like he has the movement. But to Ruben's point, I don't think that he would stick in center field. He's most likely going to be a right fielder. I don't think he has the range to play center field. But from what I'm seeing so far from Dominguez, he's knocking on the door. Same thing with Volpe. And it's a perfect segue to this. I'll let James lead the conversation. But when it comes to Dominguez and Volpe, I think they're starting to force Brian Cashman's hand. You touched on it just a little bit, James. But can you see something in the middle of the season? Like you said, if the players aren't performing, could we see an injection of youth from Volpe and Dominguez like we saw at the end of last year with Cabrera and Peraza?
Yeah, actually, just took the words out of my mouth. Like I think when like, those guys were doing well in the minors, we were hearing, hey, the veterans up here just weren't performing. They were struggling to score runs, mainly in the second half of the season. Like the first half of the season with the Yankees was great. They were like almost 40 games over 500. It was a dream season. And then, of course, everyone started to go down. King, Carpenter, like every week was a new injury. And then like we never really saw Stanton until almost like September. So, yes, then I think when people were calling for the young guys, Cashman said, all right, let's bring the young guys up. So I think, yeah, if the veterans don't perform and they've kind of forced Cashman's hand and the fans are groveling and yelling, I think he would. I don't know about Dominguez, but I think a good shot with Volpe. I think a decent shot for Volpe. I just think, like you said before, I don't think they feel Dominguez has enough seasoning, unless he's putting numbers that are off the charts. But of the two of them, I could see an opportunity where Volpe does come up. And maybe, like you said, maybe they cut ways with Donaldson, part ways, goodbye. And then you have Volpe playing third.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead, Ty. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I agree. Volpe is a little bit ahead of Dominguez. I think Dominguez needs some time in AAA. Regardless of the numbers he's putting up now, I think he needs to stay down there just for a while. You know, he's going to be knocking on that door. But Volpe's ready. But if you're not going to start him, it's useless to keep him on this team. You know, I want him every day getting his at-bats, you know, playing third, short, second, wherever they feel. I'm not going to bring him up and not play him, put him on the bench like they did Peraza last year.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Cashman's got to, you know, especially he's going to start listening to the fans. The fans are going to be screaming, especially all the injuries piling up. He might have no choice. So, yeah, the young kids they're there. They're right on the cusp, especially Volpe. Volpe, regardless what he does in spring or, you know, in AAA or whatever, he's going to be on this team this year. I have no doubt, you know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Dominguez is going to be right there too, especially at the end of the season. I see Dominguez on at least when they expand the roster, a couple spots.
They're knocking on the door, and I just want to shout out to the other Jason that we all know, Jason from 161 River Ave. You know, Jason from 161 River Ave, low key, he doesn't like Jason Dominguez because he spells his name Jason a little bit different than this Jason does. So I understand that, Jason. But no, shout out to 161 River Ave. And hold on, L.I. Yankee King, right? Hold on. LA Yankee King. Nobody wants Patrick Corbin, bro. Nobody wants Patrick Corbin. Stop it with the Patrick Corbin trade conversation, because when you look at it, right, if the Yankees are trying to save money, it will cost them more to bring in Patrick Corbin than it would cost them just to eat Josh Donaldson and Aaron Hicks's contract, right? When you look at Donaldson's contract, he has $25 million plus that player option, the buyout for next year, and then you got Aaron Hicks $10 million over the next 3 seasons. That's about $30 million, 25. So that's about almost $60 million, while Patrick Corbin has $25 and $39 million or $35 million left. That's almost about the same amount of money. So nobody wants Patrick Corbin, LA Yankee King, as much as I do not want Josh Donaldson on this team, right? As much as I do not want Aaron Hicks on this team, I do not want a washed-up Patrick Corbin. James, I'm going to throw it to you since it's your first time here in almost a year. Do you want Patrick Corbin on the Yankees? What's your thoughts, James?
No, I mean, that's, isn't like either, I think the Diamondbacks still paying like $1 billion still left in the contract. So,
no,
yeah,
the Nationals, yeah.
That's where it came from. But, yeah, no, that's not a move I would make now. You would only do that at the trade deadline if you're super desperate and the Nationals are willing to eat a chunk of that money, maybe. But he's kind of like he's like a J.A. Happ, you know. Yeah. If you remember him a couple of seasons ago, like he's not something I wouldn't go after him. You know, he's just sort of he's like a Frankie Montas move where it's like, oh, if he's laying there and you really need somebody, okay. But, you know, he's decent. But again, he's not someone I'd break the bank for or go, you know, I would target, you know.
If you want a left-handed pitcher that's coming up from our minor league system, James Cook, the guy who's in spring training right now, that's most likely going to make the roster coming out of spring training as a lefty arm for that bullpen. So even if the Yankees were to trade for Patrick Corbin for the bullpen, I don't think the Yankees, especially Hal Steinbrenner, wants to pay a reliever $25 million this year. Matt Crook, thank you, Ruben. $25 million this year and then $35 million next year just to be a long reliever. I don't think the Yankees, they have the money, but I don't think that's the type of move that Brian Cashman or Hal Steinbrenner makes. And yeah, it's Matt Crook. Yeah. But that's that's the lefty that's coming out of spring training right now. Let's jump on to the next topic because it's kind of the same old story, just a different day, right? Because you brought it up, Aaron Hicks. right? Aaron Hicks, he hears booed from Yankee fans on the road, and he was booed crazy because it seems like Aaron Hicks has not figured it out how to play left field. I throw it over to you, James. What's your thoughts on Aaron Hicks? I know you said he may start the season in center field with the Yankees, but with his recent play, him getting booed by the Yankees, what's your take on that, brother?
Yeah, I mean, I actually I like him, and I kind of feel sorry for him. Like I liked when they got him, and just before the game, that deal. Like to me, he was always like a poor man's Bernie Williams. He wouldn't have. He's not a 300 hitter like Bernie Williams was, but again, switch hitter with power, could play center field, good on base percentage, and when he's going good, like he moves the line along. He gets on base for someone like Judge or Stanton behind him, hit like a 3-run home run. So he's a good player. I just think the number of surgeries he had from 2019, 2020 just took a toll on his body, and now being 33 years old, I don't think he'll ever be what Cashman thought he was going to be, this 5'2" player. Again, obviously he's not a base stealer, but again, he's kind of had everything else. But again, by his fault, he has like about 2 years left on the deal, so no one's going to take his contract. You can't really eat that. That's a lot to eat, 2 years on a deal. So I think the Yankees are just going to go with it. Get him as much reps as possible in left field, and just hope, again, he doesn't have like that game like he had last season in Tampa where Boone had to yank him out. And then, so I think as long as he's semi-competent, he'll be all right. Now, he's probably going to split time in left with Oswaldo Cabrera. Cabrera's probably going to get more of the time there. So, again, I think if it's a situation where he's just god-awful, he's just going to see a lot of bench time. And maybe, again, Boone uses him just late-inning defense, and that's it, if the Yankees have a big lead. So he's in a kind of very low-pressure situation, which could actually be a blessing in disguise, because if you just bat him down 7th to 8th in the lineup, there'll be no pressure on him. No one's going to expect anything, and he can just get some easy fastballs. He has power, and maybe he could be a sneaky 15, 20 home run hitter.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on it, Todd? I'm still trying to recover and process the whole Patrick Corbin trade. So that's why I keep looking back and forth to the shot. Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, and LI wanted to get rid of Chaparro, your boy, so I don't know about that.
I know. You're not trading my friend, Andres Chaparro. That's my friend, all right?
That's already out. So, with Hicks, for late inning defense replacement, his defense was what we're counting on, and now he's having lapses in the outfield. The other day in the Red Sox game, he let the ball drop. He's just staring at the sky, and lets the ball drop in fair territory, giving up on it. His defense has declined tremendously. His bat too, but I mean, for a late inning replacement, I don't know about putting him out there. I'm not counting on him, but yeah, he could run into 15, 20 homers. He gives us a little something, but to start the season as the platoon, but if I got to see him starting in center field to start the season, I don't know. I'm gonna throw my hat against something. I can't with this guy anymore. I've given him a lot of chances, and he just does something each day to make you just scratch your head. Like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
But I guess it's going to be hard to get rid of this guy, hard to move him, and Cashman doesn't want to, his ego is too big. He's like, he's not going to just cut him or get rid of him for nothing. So yeah, we're stuck with him, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, LI Yankee King, to your point, right? Because you keep on asking how this getting Corbin makes this worse. Listen, LI Yankee King, I'm going to just read this out. Patrick Corbin last year, in 31 starts, he had a 6.31 ERA. He lost 19 games and only won 6 games. You want a guy on your team that lost 19 games that had an ERA almost at 7 last year? I know we love playing video games, but come on, LI Yankee King, this is enough. And like I said, I always love LI. This is all love when it comes to these conversations. But come on, LI, that Patrick Corbin deal, I don't think the Yankees would do it for that point. You keep up bringing the luxury tax for this year, right? And saying that Josh Donaldson and Aaron Hicks make $35 million this season combined, while Patrick Corbin only makes 28 or 25 million or 22, whatever it is. But next year, Patrick Corbin makes $35 million. I don't think the Yankees want a reliever making $35 million just coming out of the pen, if we're being honest. But let's throw it around, because I think I got one more in there, and it goes with the clown show that was Aaron Hicks to another clown show. Joey Gallows with the Minnesota
No.
Twins, Mr. Joey Gallows, he was heckled by Yankee fans during the spring training game. James, I throw it to you. What do you make of this Joey Gallows situation in Minnesota?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of deserves it. Not because he played bad, but like, his final weeks with the Yankees, just the comments he was making, like, I don't want to be here. He was kind of dug his own grave with that one. If he just stink, that's one thing. You could stink. Like we've seen Stanton just be horrible and get booed, but he never says the wrong thing. If he's having, but when with Gallo, again, just the way he ran his mouth as he was leaving town, obviously you knew when he was going to come back, he was just going to get killed. So obviously, no surprise for him. He was and I just think something about him. He just has like that. His eyes are big, like like he's always look like he's lost. So like I think he has this kind of that California attitude. So I thought it would be, I thought it would really take off for the Dodgers. But then after initial couple home runs, he did nothing with them either. So he is what he is. He's a 200 hitter that's going to run into a home run once in a while, and hopefully when he comes to Yankee Stadium, he just whiffs 4 times at bat.
Yeah, we was having a conversation on the last show that we was doing this past Sunday on Grunt Baseball, talking about Don Mattingly and how great he was at not striking out. He had a season with Donnie Baseball actually struck out only 21 times for the entire season. Joey Gallo strikes out 21 times in a 4-game series, maybe a 3-game series, right? So the difference in baseball from 2023 to when Don Mattingly was playing is just tremendous. I get it. The pitches, they throw a lot harder. They got a lot more movement and break on their pitches, but still striking out only 21 times for an entire season. That's a legendary status right there when it comes to Don Mattingly. And I'm going to keep on saying, if that man is not in the Hall of Fame, I don't know who deserves to be in the Hall of Fame then, because Donnie Baseball was literally Mr. Baseball for 3 to 4 seasons in a row. Best player in all of baseball. What's your thoughts on that, James?
Yeah, well, I take the opposite approach to this. First of all, like someone like Scott Rowland, how's he in the Hall of Fame if you're not going to put Don Mattingly in the Hall of Fame? But you got to be fair. Look at this. Look, I would like to see Don Mattingly in the Hall of Fame. Maybe he'll get in with one of these veteran committees like 20 years from now. Who knows? But you got to also look that, just the number of seasons he had. I mean, from like 84 to 89, he was the man. But after that, like, all right, he did resurrect his batting average a little bit, but it's just he doesn't have enough time in. And if you just look, he's not anywhere close to any of the big plateaus like 3,000 hits or 500 home runs like that. So, I just don't. As much as I hate to say this, it's not. Yes, he was a great player, but it doesn't have enough longevity, and it's just those injuries from 89 and 90 just unfortunately just took the toll on him, and he just wasn't the same player from like 90 to 95. So. I think the Hall of Fame, as much they put so many people in there like Harold Baines, who should not be in, like Scott Rowland, who should not be in, but that is an excuse to have. If you have him in, then you have other people. I think a Hall of Fame. You should look at a Hall of Fame like Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle. Say, all right, done, Hall of Fame. Like Ted Williams and Mickey Mantle up there. So, unfortunately, as much as I like Mattingly, he just doesn't have enough stats to get in.
Yeah, crazy. I got a couple hot takes when it comes to the Hall of Fame. Now, Craig Biggio, right, is a guy who's a Hall of Famer, 3,000 hits. He reached that benchmark to get into the Hall of Fame with 3,000 hits. But this is my gripe with Craig Biggio. Craig Biggio has almost 1,300 at-bats. Almost 1,300 at-bats. If you don't have 3,000 hits, something's wrong with you. In baseball, you're supposed to fail 7 times out of 10, right? So he was successful 3 times out of 10. He has 1,300 at bats. So he definitely should have gotten 3,000 hits. James, what's your take when it comes to Craig Biggio with what I just said? You think I'm reaching a little bit when it comes to that?
No, because I think you got to also respect. He played had a long career as well. So he's probably a guy like I want to call him like I think like Phil Niekro or Joe Niekro, who like threw a knuckleball until he was like 45 years old to get every win possible. All right, got my 300 wins, and I'm a Hall of Famer. But you have to respect someone like a Craig Biggio to staying healthy, and it is part of the game. The grind of just being available. Like for example, just switching sports. For example, like Eli Manning, like going 14 seasons as a starting quarterback when guys are trying to break your ankles and stuff, like that means something. So to switch it back to Craig Biggio, I'm not like overly impressed with him, but like I'm more okay with him being a Hall of Famer than probably Scott Rowland.
Yes,
he did put in the time, and again to stay healthy, that's an attribute of being a good baseball player.
Yeah, 100%. TC Stills, what's your thoughts on that on Craig Biggio and the Hall of Fame as it is right now?
Craig Biggio, I think he's deserving. I mean, he had a long career. I mean, he performed, pretty well at the major league level. So, but going with the Don Mattingly thing, yeah, unfortunately his like terrific all-star seasons were short. He had the 3-4 years, and then the back issues really put a kink in the whole Hall of Fame thing. But even with the 14 years and just watching him out there, his defense and everything, he's got to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, they got to eventually let him in. He was too much of a star. He had too much star power, in the late 80s and 90s to not be in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, BGO, I see BGO over Roland, but yeah.
Okay.
Who knows with these writers? They just
Switching it up just a little bit, right? Because I see Ally Yankee King said Barry Bonds. James, what's your feelings on Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame, and do you think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is again one of the best players of our time. Yeah, I know his stats are padded because of using the sauce, but still, like even without the sauce, he was a 500 home run hitter. So. Again, I think if we're gonna forgive players and like if we're gonna forgive you're gonna ban Will Smith from the Oscars, but then you can have him back 1 year later. Like I think there should be a forgiveness for like players like Clemens and Barry Bonds. Like all right, enough time has passed. You paid your dues. Same with Pete Rose. Like this whole thing's just ridiculous. It's like these little mini grudges and stuff like that. And technically, Bonds never. I mean, we all know he did stuff, but he never actually XYZ got caught. Really, I mean, just sort of hearsay and stuff like that. And look. It was just in an era where a lot of players were doing it. It's not an excuse, but you have to reward your greatest players. So I think he deserves to be in.
Yeah, and I stand on the hill when it comes to Barry Bonds. Is like you, James. When it comes to Barry Bonds, he has the numbers. He's one of the greatest players to ever play this game. Before the steroids, allegations when he was with Pittsburgh, the numbers that he put up in Pittsburgh automatically was home run. I mean, Hall of Fame numbers, if you ask me. 400 stolen bases, 400 plus home runs. That was already getting ready to go to Cooperstown when it comes to that. On the other side of it, if you want to admit that Barry Bonds was mean to the reporters, copy. He was mean to the reporters, but that shouldn't be the litmus test, or that shouldn't be how you get into the Hall of Fame, by being nice to the voters, right? Your numbers should be able to get you in alone. When it comes to the whole steroid situation, I get it. Steroids, performance-enhancing drugs, they help you out a little bit, or they help you out while you're playing and during your playing career. But the one thing that I'm going to stand on, and I'm going to keep on saying it, there is not one scientific article, there's not one scientific peer-reviewed studies that points to steroids or PEDs improving your hand-to-eye coordination. There's not one scientific study or article about that. If there is one out there, please link it to me so I can learn and so I could correct my statements when it comes to this. But as of now, I haven't found one peer-reviewed article. I haven't found one scientific study or what scientific journal that links performance-enhancing drugs to improving your hand-to-eye coordination. There's not one article out there. You could say, oh, well, you could automatically think you're stronger, your arms swing faster. Cool. That does nothing for your eyes. Literally does nothing for your eyes when the pitch is coming in. It does nothing for your sense of depth, understanding the depth of a ball when it's coming in. It does nothing for that, right? So when it comes to Barry Bonds, put that man in the Hall of Fame. Todd, what's your thoughts on it, brother?
100%. He should be in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, he was just as good without steroids as he was with steroids. The only thing was he had more power, hit more home runs. The numbers were going up as he was like almost 40, hit 70 home runs. I mean, that's unheard of. But yeah, no, he's a definite. You gotta put him in there. The whole steroids thing is kind of, I think it's overblown now. I mean, there's guys in there that like Alex Rodriguez. Now he should be. He was good without steroids too. I mean, like you said, that it doesn't increase your hand-eye coordination. You still have to hit a 95 to 100 mile an hour fastball.
Yeah.
You get more power, and maybe keeps you your energy level up. It helps you lift weights. But as far as hitting a baseball, you still got to field. You still got to there's a lot of other things you got to run. There's things that go with baseball that it's just not like a weightlifting contest. So
Yeah.
so he should be in.
Yeah, and when it comes to Alex Rodriguez, I'll throw it to James right afterward, so we can wrap up the Hall of Fame conversation. But when it comes to A-Rod, you know, a lot of people, when they talk about Michael Jordan and his greatness, they love to bring up Michael Jordan's rookie season, right? One of the best rookie seasons of all time. When you look up A-Rod's rookie year, A-Rod hit 358. 36 home runs, 123 RBIs, 54 doubles, led both the American League and the National League when it comes to doubles. He had 60 bases and he stole 15 bases. His rookie year is probably one of the best rookie seasons in all of Major League Baseball. So A-Rod definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. What's your thoughts on A-Rod, James?
No, I agree with you, right? Same as Barry Bonds. Like, yes, he probably did some stuff, but it's not like that helped him. Like, you know, the way, like, for example, you take someone like Sammy Sosa. Now, that's someone who's probably a very good player, but dabbled in the sauce and made himself Superman. So that's someone who I would not put in the Hall of Fame. But A-Rod is someone I would say, even if he might have dabbled in the sauce, but he's also a pure, really good baseball player. And even towards, you know, the late 90s was the argument, who's better, Jeter or A-Rod? Look, I like Jeter. I'm a Yankee fan, all that jazz, but A-Rod clearly the better player. It's not even close. I mean, it's just the only problem with A-Rod now, I think he's helped himself out a little bit the past few seasons, be on ESPN Baseball. He's being a little bit more personable, character guy. Maybe he thinks that that's at some point could carry over to get him in. Again, it'll probably have to be one of these veteran committees that vote him in, not the normal writers. But I think he's on like a PR campaign just to sort of get his name back in. And he loves the game as much as anything else. So for him to not be in the Hall of Fame, that probably really hurts him more than he would let on. I hope he gets in. Again, I thought Yankee fans were a little rough with him. I never understand. There's like someone like a Kyle Farnsworth or even a Joey Gallo who deserves it because he just stink. But when you have a great player, you know is great, and you're booing him, it just doesn't help. And I always thought it was bad for the Yankee fans to get on him like that. It was just really stupid. It's counterproductive. So I liked him. I thought he got a bit of a bad break. Yes, he would be a jerk once in a while. They'll just do something stupid or whatever. Like, I just think he had maybe a little bit of a personality issue. Just maybe because you're a young guy and you get all this money and everyone's just kissing your backside and Madonna's hitting you up. You know, I don't know, but I think he's a good guy. I just hope at some point he does get into the Hall of Fame. So we'll see what happens.
So Ruben just pointed out a great point. Ruben, thank you so much for finding this, for putting this in the chat. He said Posada finished with an 848 OPS as a catcher. Positional offense should be taken into account. He is a Hall of Famer while doing it mainly in his 30s. When it comes to Jorge Posada, you can't deny probably one of the best offensive catchers in all of Major League Baseball, especially for the Yankees. I think he leads the Yankees when it comes to home runs as a catcher, won a batting title as a catcher in his 30s with the Yankees. And Jorge Posada, super professional. One of the guys that wasn't really a fan of Alex Rodriguez, even after his playing career. He's been on numerous interviews calling out A-Rod and saying that he doesn't deserve X, Y, and the third. But when it comes to Posada as a player, as a Hall of Famer, I'm not sure. I think the Yankee bias will be against him because a bunch of great players on those Yankee teams that he was on. So I think there's a New York bias when it comes to that. Same thing like Bernie Williams. I would, if it comes down to it, Posada and Bernie Williams should be in the Hall of Fame. I just think the writers, they have like a New York City bias or a Yankee bias when it comes to putting in certain players to the Hall of Fame, like a Don Mattingly or a Bernie Williams or Andy Pettitte. Because when you look at it from 2000 to 2009, the winningest pitcher in all of Major League Baseball was Andy Pettitte.
Yep.
People don't know that the most wins for a pitcher from 2000 to 2009 was Andy Pettitte, the winningest pitcher in that era. So if that doesn't make you a Hall of Famer, I honestly don't know what makes you a Hall of Famer. James, what's your thoughts on those last 2 points before we get out of here, brother?
Sure, I'll break it down. I just think, those are players who, as Yankee fans, we see them much, so we see their greatness, but that for first of all, Andy Pettitte, they're not going to ever get him in. As much as a great career as he had, never had a Cy Young, never had like an MVP. He should have won the Cy Young in '96. They gave it to Pat Henkin, which was a joke. It was on a crappy Toronto team. But unfortunately, as good as he is, as good as the postseason, he's just not enough. And plus, obviously, he's rubbing elbows with the devil in Roger Clemens. They're going to hold that against him. So. Unfortunately, it's cool to see Pettitte with Team USA as a coach, but I don't think they'll ever let him in the Hall of Fame. Jorge Posada would have been an interesting case. If he could have just gotten maybe 2 or 3 gold gloves during that, I don't think he has any, absolutely.
No.
So I think that hurt him a little bit. And I think what hurt him is obviously you always have Ivan Rodriguez always getting the gold glove every season. He was always seen as like the second best catcher in the American League. So but I liked Posada. He had a great career, and he was even a good quality player up to like age 38. In his last season, and then that whole thing ended well with Girardi when Girardi batted him ninth, and then he just quit on the game or whatever. So it didn't end well. But unfortunately, Pettit and Bernie and Posada, they're not going to give him the Hall of Fame nod, and they're just going to say, as good as they were, the fact that they were that Yankee team, the Yankee bias. Well, yeah, if you put any sort of mediocre team on that great Yankee team, they're gonna play more games. They're gonna be on more winning teams and stuff like that. So unfortunately, they might have the number retired at Monument Park, great, but they'll never let those players in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and the whole rubbing elbows with the devil, with Roger Clemens and Andy Pettit, it is a great point, and it is something that they're going to hold against Andy Pettit. And for Roger Clemens, I get it. You got reporters that do not like Roger Clemens because of the same thing, his attitude towards them, and they're going to hold that against him. They're going to use whatever excuse. But I think right now in 2023, when it comes down to it, let them in the Hall of Fame. The same thing with Pete Rose. If you're going to have commercials during the middle of the game for FanDuel, for DraftKings, for literally just sport, every commercial is sports betting. If that's the policy now with Major League Baseball, then you got to have Pete Rose into the Hall of Fame. Now, is there other stuff besides the gambling issue that reporters are holding against Pete Rose? Probably. There's a lot of other allegations that Pete Rose has against him that they're using probably to keep him out of the Hall of Fame, but they're using a gambling thing as an excuse, right? So I get that, right? I understand that, but at some day, probably when he passes away, knock on wood, Pete Rose will get acknowledged in the Hall of Fame and will be acknowledged as the hit king in Major League Baseball, as he should. Over 4,000 hits, he definitely should be acknowledged as the number one hit king in all of Major League Baseball. But I want to throw it over to you, Todd, because they put it in the chat. Our guy, or your guy, or everyone's guy, Trevor Bauer is signing with a Japanese team and playing with the MPP. What's your thoughts on Trevor Bauer? And then we'll close it up after that.
Well, he's trying to get his career back on track, with Japan, and see if he can get back in the majors. But good for him. We'll see what he's got left in the tank, and nobody wanted to give him a shot in Major League Baseball. So what does that say about his character? So good for him.
Yeah, good for him. Hopefully he's able to win people over. I highly doubt it, but hopefully he puts it together over there in Japan and probably finally learns to be an adult, actually. James, what's your take on the Trevor Bauer situation?
Yeah, I mean, he's just one of those like oddball people like an Antonio Brown, where it's like they have talent and you want to like bring him on your team. You think, well, I could change him and stuff like that. And then they let you down with some crazy stuff. Now, obviously, whatever he did with his girlfriend or wife, that's his own personal business. But I would never give him an opportunity. Like if the Yankees, even if they desperately didn't pitch it, I would never want that guy on my team. Because again, there's certain people like him with this, like or Yoenis Cespedes, like at some, or Puig, they're gonna do something stupid. You just know at some point. So as long as he did nothing illegal technically and he's not in jail, then fine. You want to go to Japan and make money, all the power to. But even if the Yankees are desperate for pitching, I would never, I would never want any part of him.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Yankees bringing him in. That's rubbing elbows with the devil when it comes
PR
to
nightmare.
Trevor Bauer. Yeah, definitely a PR nightmare. James, I appreciate you so much for tuning in. Like always, open door policy. I want to have you on again. And guys, for the chat that's watching right now, James is the first person that invited me on his show when I started the Yankees Morning Brew. So I will always have a nice little place in my heart for my friend James and over there at Section 420 Yankees. James, again, before you dip out, let everybody know where they can find you. And don't worry about how, the promo, like drop everything. Let everybody know where they can find you, bro.
I'm gonna drop a ton of stuff here. No, first of all, I appreciate having you, and I just also want to say congratulations. This way your show's progressed with just the live images and this way doing this, like it's amazing. I do my show, but we do editing afterwards, so just do this all live. It's like pretty darn good. So keep it up, and I hope you keep it going. So I'm on YouTube, so Section 420 Talkin Yankees. Catch me there. If you follow on Instagram, like to follow me there. This is the whole thing. Section 420 Talkin Yankees, all one thing. Follow me there as well. I'm on Twitter, Section 420 TY. So we're abbreviating the Talkin Yankees, so follow me on Twitter, of course. And then again, if you live in the Bronx, if you have Optimum, it's channel 68. If you're an Optimum, it's every Tuesday at 7:00 Eastern time. If you're a Fios, Verizon Fios, it's 3124. Again, at 7:00 every Tuesday. if you're out on Strong Island, Long Island there, if you're, let's say you get back early from Jones Beach or you're about to go to Jones Beach, it's every Thursday at 10 o'clock. It's Optimum Cablevision, channel 20, that public access channel. And then, as I mentioned before, BRIC TV, our great friend there. Again, they have like 5,000 different, Spectrum and Time Warner and this and that. To be honest with you, I don't know all the numbers there, but I think if you just go to their website, BRIC TV Media, you'll be able to Google me, come up, or just do the search engine there. And of course, last but not least, the audio podcast, which I started this season, and now I'm in kind of season 2 of this season. Wherever you get your podcasts, all over the place, just do Section 420 Talkin Yankees, and that provides you with not only stuff that's on my TV and YouTube channel, but I have additional content there that is just exclusive for your podcast subscribers. So, little stories about me going to the Yankee game and like a drunk fan falling down the stairs. Again, little things I wouldn't talk about on the normal show. But before we leave, and since we lost Joe Pepitone, I got to tell a Joe Pepitone story.
Go ahead, brother.
Me. So this goes back to the 60s. Obviously, him and Mickey Mantle were good buddies, and, they would kick back a few brews, of course. So this was during spring training as well. So it's kind of fitting for this time. So they were running late, so they're in a limousine. So it's Mantle and Joe Pepitone getting to this game, literally like putting the jersey on in the limousine type of deal, and they're hungover, drunk. So Casey Stengel sees this, these two knuckleheads, whatever. So to punish them a little bit, they make them start the game. So first at bat, Mantle crushes a home run, hungover. Great. So to sort of reward him a little bit, and since Mantle is the star, after like the first or second inning, Casey Stengel tells Mantle, all right, you're good to stay on the bench rest of the game, rest up, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But to punish Pepitone, since he's the lesser of the two, and sort of teach them both a lesson, he keeps Pepitone out there to play the entire game hungover in the Florida sun, just to like beat the crap out of him, self, just to like punish him a little bit. So there's the Joe Pepitone story.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. James, brother, again, like I said, appreciate you coming on. And, anytime during the season, if you want to have me on, just let me know. I definitely would be there. And also, if you're around, if you're free, April 2nd, NYY News TV, KOD Media, we're having a joint venture at Gramercy Ale House in Manhattan. It's a bar right on the west side. I'll send you the address to it. But we're having a live Yankees watch-along party. Myself and Pete Simonetti will be calling the Yankees game, streaming on YouTube. So if you're free, Sunday, April 2nd is free admission, 1 p.m. at the bar. You're more than welcome to come, James. We'd love to have you there, brother.
I appreciate it. You don't have to drag me to a bar, so that's fun.
Appreciate you, James. Appreciate you, James. That's I got James over from Section 420. If you guys can, please support my man. Please subscribe to everything that he's doing. Follow him on Twitter. Follow him on Instagram as well. Appreciate the conversation. TC, what was your thoughts on the convo, brother?
Excellent, man. James is very knowledgeable, very well spoken. He's he's got a lot to say about the Yankees, and definitely a great guest. Great guest to have on the show.